Something extraordinary has appeared on the ancient stones of Jerusalem's eastern wall. It is not erosion. It is not a trick of light. This is a mark that defies time, nature, and human explanation. For centuries, prophets spoke of signs that would shake the nations. Today, one of those signs may have emerged right beside the Golden Gate, the very threshold tied to destiny. Could this be the final warning? Are we witnessing the prelude to a moment foretold for millennia? The stones are speaking, but what are they saying? If this spoke to you like this video, subscribe to Jesus Miracles and turn on notifications for more signs and prophecies. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. The King is coming. For thousands of years, whispers of a sacred name have lingered in the air of Jerusalem. It is a name so holy, so unutterable, that the ancient Israelites dared not speak it aloud. Instead, they substituted with words like Adonai, meaning Lord, or Hashem, meaning the name. To pronounce it carelessly was unthinkable. To write it without reverence was forbidden. This name appears in the Hebrew scriptures as 4 mysterious letters, Yod, He, Vav, He. Together they form what scholars call the Tetragrammaton, a word that carries the very essence of existence. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked the voice of God for his name, the answer was both enigmatic and eternal. I am who I am. This is my name forever. The name you shall call me from generation to generation. Exodus 3, verse 14. But how could a name, an invisible sound, leave a visible mark on stone? To understand, we must look to Jerusalem's most sacred geography. At the heart of the city stands the Temple Mount, a site revered by Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. For Jews, it is where the first and second temples stood. For Christians, it is where Jesus taught and wept. For Muslims, it is where Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven. On its eastern flank lies a sealed gateway, known as the Golden Gate or the Eastern Gate. History records that in the 16th century, Ottoman Sultan Suleiman ordered it walled shut, an attempt, some say, to prevent the prophesied Messiah from entering. But prophecy remains undefeated. The book of Ezekiel foretells, the glory of the Lord entered the temple through the gate facing east. Ezekiel 43, verse 4. That very gate now watches in silence, its stones weathered by centuries, as if awaiting a moment of divine fulfillment. The first reports came quietly, almost as whispers on the digital wind. Grainy photos, short, shaky videos, captions in bold. Do you see it? A few dismiss them as clever editing or a trick of light. Others, however, lean closer to their screens, hearts pounding as they began to see the impossible. It started with a group of pilgrims standing at the Eastern Wall, the section of Jerusalem's Temple Mount facing the Mount of Olives. One of them pointed upward in astonishment. "Look there," she said, voice trembling. Others gathered around, squinting against the sun. At first, it seemed like nothing more than weathered cracks, the random scars of centuries etched into ancient limestone. But as the sunlight shifted and shadows danced across the stones, patterns began to emerge. Patterns that did not seem random at all. In the weathered surface of the wall, faint but unmistakable, were shapes resembling Hebrew letters. 4 of them. Soon after, the internet ignited. Videos surfaced on social media platforms, shared by travelers and local worshipers alike. Some clips were shot from phones, others with professional cameras. The angles varied, but all seemed to capture the same astonishing phenomenon. Critics were quick to call it fake. Photoshop, CGI, pareidolia, the human tendency to see patterns where none exist. But those who stood there, who saw it with their own eyes, disagreed. No camera trick. One visitor insisted in a live stream, "You don't understand until you're standing here. It's real." To settle the debate, we went there ourselves. The journey to the Eastern Wall was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. The closer we approached, the more palpable the air became, as if charged with an invisible current. Standing at the base of the wall, we strained our eyes. Nothing, just stone, cracks, erosion, discoloration. Then, as the afternoon sun broke through a shifting veil of clouds, something began to stir on the surface. At first, it seemed like faint scratches. Then the outline of a single letter emerged. A yod, a tiny stroke, yet the first spark of a holy name. Moments later, a second character unfolded. Hey, like a breath caught in the limestone. Our group fell silent. The third letter appeared as a shaft of light struck the wall at an angle, Vav, slender and unyielding. And finally, with the wind sweeping dust from the crevices, the last hay revealed itself. There it was, the sacred Tetragrammaton. The name, our breath quickened. For centuries, Jewish tradition forbade uttering this name, aloud due to its ineffable holiness. And now, it seemed as though creation itself had whispered it into the stones. The moment was punctuated by a sudden, eerie shift in the air. A flock of doves, unseen until now, burst upward from behind the wall, their white wings catching the sunlight like scattered flames. As they circled above, their movement seemed almost choreographed, forming a spiral before dispersing into the sky. Somewhere nearby, a faint rumble rolled beneath our feet. At first, we thought it was passing traffic, but locals whispered of minor tremors felt in recent days, seismic murmurs beneath the ancient city. Could the earth itself be responding? Then came the wind. A strong gust swept across the plaza, lifting dust and leaves, drawing gasps from onlookers as the letters on the wall became even more pronounced, as though unveiled by a divine hand. This wasn't just erosion. This wasn't coincidence. Every instinct screamed that this was a sign, a call written not with ink, but with time, weather, and the breath of God himself. Those around us began to weep, murmur prayers, or simply stand in stunned silence. The weight of the moment pressed heavily against our chests. Was this truly the final warning? Were we witnessing the precursor to prophecy fulfilled? Ezekiel spoke of this very gate centuries ago. Then the man brought me to the gate facing east, and I saw the glory of the God of Israel coming from the east. Ezekiel 43 verses 1-4. And now, above the sealed eastern gate, his name has appeared. This name is no ordinary word. It is existence itself, breath itself. Ancient rabbis once taught that its syllables mimic human respiration. Inhale and exhale, a subconscious echo of the divine from a first cry of birth to the final sigh of death. But why now? Why here? Why above this gate? Perhaps it is because time is short. Perhaps because the King is coming. And as Jesus warned in Luke 19 verse 40, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out. The stones have spoken. Are we listening? Prophets saw this day long before we were born. Their words echo across centuries, written not just on parchment, but seemingly carved into the very fabric of history. Zechariah's vision was clear. On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, Zechariah 14 verse 4. From that mountain, the Messiah would descend, crossing the valley to the eastern gate, the very gate now sealed, the very gate above which the sacred name has appeared. Jesus himself spoke of his return with stunning imagery. For as lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24, verse 27. Like a storm that no one can ignore, his arrival will be swift, undeniable, and glorious. And when the Pharisees urged Jesus to silence his disciples as they shouted praises, his response was haunting. I tell you, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out. Luke 19, verse 40. Could it be that these very stones, the weathered walls of Jerusalem, are now crying out? Could the appearance of the divine name be their voice, a desperate warning to a distracted and sleeping world? Look around. The signs are not confined to one wall in one city. They ripple across the globe like birth pangs heralding a new age. Wars rage on distant battlefields. Earthquakes split the earth in unexpected places. Storms grow stronger. Plagues sweep through nations. Humanity reels under the weight of fear, division, and chaos. Are these mere coincidences, or are they the fulfillment of prophecies long ignored? The sacred name on the eastern wall is not a curiosity to be debated in academic halls. It is not an artifact to be cataloged and forgotten. It is a wake-up call, a trumpet blast, a final plea for repentance and restoration. The Creator is speaking, not through human voices, but through stone, wind, and earth. He is calling his people back to faith, back to holiness, back to himself. The time is short. The clock is ticking. God's holy name on the wall is not merely a curiosity. It's a wake-up call to a distracted, sleeping world. Will we listen? Will we respond? Or will we ignore the writing on the wall until it's too late? This is not a time for apathy. It is a time for action. The stones have cried out. The heavens have spoken. The earth trembles. The question now lingers, pressing against every heart. Are you ready for the King to return? This moment is more than a mystery etched into ancient stone. It is a whisper from eternity, a sacred summons. The appearance of God's name on the eastern wall is not just a mark. It is a message. Yahweh is calling. For generations, his name was too holy to speak aloud. It was a name whispered only by the high priest once a year in the Holy of Holies. And now, that same name stands written in the very heart of Jerusalem, visible for all the world to see. But make no mistake, this is not about stones. This is about hearts. The God who once carved his commandments into tablets of stone now desires to write his name on human hearts. Centuries ago, he declared through his prophet, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land." 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14. This call echoes louder today than ever before. Look at the world. Look at your own life. Are we ready? Are our hearts aligned with the one who holds eternity in his hands? Or have we grown so distracted by the noise of this world that we no longer hear his voice? The stones cry out, but will we respond? The clock is ticking. Each day draws us closer to the moment when the seal gate will open and the King of Glory will step through. This is not a time for fear, but for faith. Not a time for delay, but for decision. Pray, return, prepare. Let his name be inscribed not only on a wall, but on your very soul. The King is coming, not as a suffering servant, but as the Lion of Judah, the Lord of Lords. When he comes, he will not ask for your status, your wealth, or your achievements. He will ask for your heart. The question is not if he will come. The question is, will you be ready when he does? This is not just an inscription. It is a signature of the Almighty, etched not by human hands, but by eternity itself. It is a declaration to every nation, every tribe, every heart. The King is returning. The stones are speaking. They have borne silent witness for centuries, but now their silence has been broken. They cry out, not with words, but with a message written in sacred letters that cannot be ignored. Are you listening? Thanks for watching. Don't miss what's coming next. Make sure you're here for the next video.